Hello, staff and parents. This is Mr. Cowley, and I'm going to be reviewing with you our most current survey data for high reliability schools level 1. We had 415 people participate. This included staff members, students, parents, and we're very grateful for your participation in that. We've been able to start reviewing this data with the HRS committee and looking at each level, trying to make changes and implement changes to help our school be an even better institution of education for everybody. Question number 1 says the faculty and staff perceive the school environment as safe and orderly. Now you'll notice that we have results in here from 2020 survey scores and 2022 survey scores. This survey was initially given 2 years ago, and we figured with new administration and having had 2 years pass and a pandemic that we needed new data so that we could see, are we still in that range where we can prove that we're meeting this level for HRS. Okay, so just so you're aware, you need to have a 4 or above to be in the prove stage on that survey data. And if you're in a 4 or above, then you would submit these lagging indicators, and the lagging indicators would be your evidence or your proof that you're certified on 1.1 for high reliability schools. So when we were reviewing the survey data from 2020 at the beginning of the school year, we implemented a few changes in the fall and hoping that that would make even more improvements on this level that the staff perceive the school as safe and orderly. So we decided to share Swift behavior referral data monthly with our staff. And Swift behavior referral data is anytime there's a minor or a major referral for student behavior that's input into Swiss, and we're able to see where are the major areas of need, where are these things happening, what types of behaviors are we seeing, what time of day are we seeing them. We're able to track a lot of that data and make changes in our system to improve our school. We also implemented, instead of just looking at those behavior referrals, we implemented positive behavior referrals called Toby tickets. And that data is also shared monthly. And we have a goal to have a 3-to-1 ratio of positive behavior referrals, those Toby tickets, to discipline referrals. We actually met that goal. When we were reviewing the data, we hit 3.1 to 1 ratio on that in the school year so far. And so what a Toby ticket is the teachers fill out this Toby ticket on the back saying something specific that the students did amazing at and giving that student praise. And then the student comes down to the office. They're able to choose a prize. We take their picture and display that in the hallway by the cafeteria that they got a Toby ticket. We also call home and share that positive news with parents. And so we have given out hundreds of these during this school year and made hundreds of phone calls. And it's been the best part of being a principal so far. We've really enjoyed making those calls and being able to share what the students are doing amazing at with parents. We also created a behavior handbook and posters around the school. So we have school-wide behavior expectations for different areas in the school. And the staff and the students were trained on these behavior expectations during the beginning of the school year and then also when we came back from Christmas break. We updated our emergency management procedures and we trained the staff on those safety procedures. We created a new evacuation map and new procedures for how to carry that out. One thing, if you notice over in this last column, next steps or in process, we want to create an emergency management procedures handbook. We've just been training our staff on these emergency management procedures in our staff meetings and sending out emails, but I would like that to be in one place that they can reference, and we would still do the trainings in staff meetings and in emails. We have also held our scheduled fire, lockdown, earthquake drills and sent out calendar invites for the entire year. We included, to have more of an orderly environment, one change we made based on on feedback data that we received was a staff newsletter called the Staff Scoop, created and sent out weekly. And so this just has information on upcoming events, dates and times, gives information on what it is and any action that the teachers or staff need to do to be able uh, to meet the needs of that upcoming event. So after those changes, we took this 2022 survey and we went from in 2020 having a 4.43 out of 5 to a 4.54 out of 5. So that was an improvement and we went from prove to prove. So we really are just in that stage where we need to submit our lagging indicators for this section. After the most recent survey, though, we implemented a few additional changes just to always be improving and trying to make Linden Park even better every day. So one of those is we received a grant. We wrote and received a grant to uh, implement a program called Aperture 8 Behavior Screener. And this will just help this was actually our counselor that brought this to us. And as we were reviewing it, we loved it. It just gives us information on how we can help students with their behavior if needed. Instead of just throwing random strategies their way, we will have better data to understand where this kid is coming from and how to help them be successful here at school. So that's going to really improve our information and actions in that area with student behavior on the side of our counselor. We also looked at COVID stats for Linden Park, and those are now published weekly in the Staff Scoop newsletter. All right, going down for question 1.2, students, parents, and the community perceive this school environment as safe and orderly. Same question, but instead of the staff, how they perceive it, we're looking at students and parents. And so same kind of things that we implemented. We were in 2020 at a 4.05, so we were in the prove range. That improved on the 2022 survey to 4.31. So some of the changes we made this year in the fall, we created that behavior handbook and we distributed the handbook to parents on back to school night, and we trained the students during the first week of school and trained them after Christmas break as well. And we also updated the parking procedures in the on how we do parent drop off and parent pickup. We created a parent newsletter called Linden Park Lineup that we send out weekly to try and help the parents have the information they need. And we send that by email, and we also put that on the Facebook page. One, we we are using Blackboard now as a means to call, email, text, and get information out to parents quickly if needed. And the nice thing about this that we learned is that parents are able to respond as well to those communications. Parent input survey, we created that at the beginning of the year just on a Google form, and we sent it out on Facebook so that parents could give input. Even anonymous safety input where there's something that needs to be reported, but they can do it anonymously. After our survey in 2022, there were a couple things in there that we needed to make adjustments on. So we did that to try and help Linden Park improve. Parent input survey link added as a permanent item at the top of every edition of Linden Park lineup. So we just wanted that input survey link instead of just having it out there every once in a while in an email. It's always there at the top of that Linden Park lineup. And we include it as a live link when we put that on Facebook or in emails. So it's really easy for parents to get in and share their information or share any input they have, even if that's safety concerns that they can leave. We also changed it to where there's a section if it is anonymous, but if parents want a response, they can put their name and a way to contact them so that we have a way to communicate with them if they would like. We shared COVID stats with the community and Linden Park lineup just to make sure we're being transparent on that. And like we said, we reviewed the school-wide behavior expectations in January. For question 1.3, teachers have formal roles in the decision-making process regarding school initiatives. This was on that 2020 survey and improve area. We were at 3.30 out of 5, and we implemented some changes this fall. One of the changes was we changed the name. We have a set meeting called a staff concern session, and we changed that to staff input session. We just wanted it to be a venue where people could share any type of input. It didn't have to be a concern, but just any sort of feedback or input to just work as a collaborative team to help Linden Park be great. We scheduled meetings with the local teachers union that are set meetings where we can get together and have formal ways for the IFEA to share any concerns or any thoughts they have or input they have on how to help Linden Park be even more effective. First item on every faculty agenda is a check-in, what's going well, what can be improved item. And we just make sure that that's the first priority. We give time to the IFEA in every faculty meeting, and then we give time to everybody. And we believe we're a team. We believe that as the admin, we don't have all the answers. And we also can benefit greatly from the input of everybody involved in this school. So we're very grateful for that input. We hold regular professional meetings for training, coordination, and input. And so paraprofessional meetings. So one of the things we implemented this year was we will bring the paraprofessionals down, and about once a month we'll have a meeting with them as well. With their hours and being paid hourly, they aren't normally at our faculty meetings that we hold nearly weekly. And so we want them to have a venue for training and a venue for us to be able to coordinate on how things are functioning and receive that input. So with those changes, we took the survey in 2022 and we went from that 3.30 to a 4.25. That's awesome. We're in the prove range now for that. We just need to submit our lagging indicators. But even on that survey, we noticed a few changes we could make based on the input. And so some of those changes are the master schedule creation process. We decided that instead of us just looking at it from that 100-foot view, we were going to create a couple different options for the master schedule. And then after I believe we created 3 options. And so after we created those 3 options, we met with our special education teachers because the master schedule affects them quite a bit. And we got input from those teachers. We met with our HRS committee and received input from those teachers, and we went making changes to those options all along the way. And then we presented all 3 options to our staff in a staff meeting. Now, the best part about that was in the process of discussing this as a staff, there was input given, and an awesome idea was shared by a teacher. So we were able to make an option 4, and just that process was great to be able to receive that feedback and information from the faculty as we go along. So this was just a way that we wanted to go about some of our decision making to where we can really hear the ideas of the faculty and staff and come up with the best master schedule for next school year possible. We also, and then we actually sent those options out in a Google form and allowed the teachers to vote on that. And then we selected the master schedule that they voted on and received the most points. We have a field trip request form, and that's not just submitted to us as principals for review and approval, but we review those with the entire HRS committee, which has teachers and parents on it, and that's approved or denied based on budget and based on if it's meeting standards for things that are supposed to be taught during the school year. All right, those are some of the changes we made. Next steps or in process things. Input meetings scheduled for drafts of the classroom map/survey. We want to go over that same process for where classrooms will be with our numbers expanding and we're going to have full day kindergarten, we're going to need to make some shifts on where classrooms are and where teachers are at, and we want to receive their feedback on that as we go along. Leading indicator for 1.4, teacher teams and collaborative groups regularly interact to address common issues regarding curriculum, assessment, instruction, and the achievement of all students. So this is 4.46 out of 5. That was approved. And then when we took the survey in 2022, we were at 4.32. So that actually went down a little bit on this most recent survey, but we're still in the prove area. Things that we implemented in the fall, we created and trained the teachers on a PLC weekly agenda / minutes form, and that was an update from previous years. Other changes we implemented after the survey, we hired a certified interventionist for the 2022-2023 school year, and that certified teacher will be in charge of running and managing that tier 2 intervention time. We call it WIN time here for reading and for math, and just kind of create a system that is more unified and flows. That's something we've been discussing with our staff all year and working on that. And we have a lot of next steps in that process. So that's something we're currently working on a lot. We want to create a PLC handbook that includes PLC schedules and procedures. So each week we understand on Friday morning, that's when we have our PLC where teachers meet together. We understand Friday morning from 8 to 9, what are we discussing today? What changes are we making for student groups on their levels? And what are we going to be teaching them? We also want to create a data notebook for K6, and this is a notebook the students would receive in kindergarten and then would be passed from teacher to teacher as they go through their time here at Linden Park. It's going to have essential standards, and it's going to be tracked by students on if they met those standards, and then it's going to be verified by teachers. Just a great way for students and parents and teachers to see where their kids at, what holes they have, what they're missing, and that's something we're currently working on implementing. PLC walkthrough form to collect data on meaningful PLCs. We just want to have some collective commitments among our staff on what work we will be doing during that PLC time and making sure our time is focused there. We need to, for our lagging indicators, our evidence to prove that we've met this area, we need to record 2 PLCs for that artifacts for certification. And our 4th grade and our 2nd grade have agreed to record to their PLCs so that we can upload that and certify level 1 for 1.4. School / PLCs write goals. So we want to have goals on where are we at and what's our next step and how can we get there as a school and as a PLC and as individual teachers. Question 1.5, teachers and staff have formal ways to provide input regarding the optimal functioning of the school. We were at 3.1 in 2020, and some changes we made this fall. We created a staff feedback box in the faculty room, and staff can submit anonymous feedback. We have paper forms there that they can write on and then put those in the box. On the front of the box, we also have a QR code, so they can scan that QR code and then submit that to us electronically as well. That feedback is reviewed often and in our admin meetings, and then we address those issues. First items on every faculty meeting, and we already mentioned this, but check in what's going well, what can be improved, and we just wanted to add that so teachers felt like they had more input on how things ran in the school. Changes implemented. Oh, and then our survey in 2022, we went from that 3.1 to a 4.0. That's a huge improvement, and we are now in the proof stage for that indicator. And so changes we implemented after the 2022 survey, we put that feedback box link into the staff scoop. That's our staff newsletter that we send out weekly. We send that as a live link, so staff always have access to it. I feel like if we send it out in an email every once in a while they'll forget about it, but I want that to be there available to them anytime they have feedback they want to share. We also added a section just like in the parent and community feedback link where it is anonymous, but if they want a response, they can put their name and then we'll be able to address that directly with them. Master schedule creation, we already spoke about how we created that formal role and formal process for how we created our master schedule, and we want to do that same thing with our classroom maps for next year. All right, leading indicator 1.6, students, parents, and the community have formal ways to provide input regarding the optimal functioning of the school. So this didn't have a score before, and when we surveyed in 2022, the score was 3.68. So that is an improved section. We need that to be above 4.0 so that we can certify as a high reliability school. And changes we implemented in the fall for this section, parent input survey was created. We created a Grit Kid program. Students can apply to be part of that student leadership team. This team gives input on functioning of the school. They also do service and help the school function smoothly. Parents were added to the HRS committee. So previously there were no parents on that committee, and we wanted parents to have a vested interest in the work we were doing there. After our survey, we implemented some additional changes. And like was mentioned previously, we added that survey link to the Linden Park lineup. And we also, during our Grit Time news that we put out every week, we asked the students to write what they would do to improve the school if they were principal for the day. We got some amazing suggestions, and we're actually going over those suggestions and have plans for around March where we're going to send out some information to students and ask for their input on some changes we can make uh, based off of their suggestions. And a lot of that's going to have to do with some playground equipment and adding that to update our playground equipment. That was also some input that we received from the parent input survey link. So both from the parent side and the student side, updating our playground equipment is something that would be appreciated and something that we're working on. Okay, the next steps, focus groups with students. We want to do more focus groups with students, focus groups with parents. We want to invite parents in an evening and do some focus group conversations with them so we can have that face-to-face interaction. Report survey data to the community, report on what changes are made as a result of the survey data. That's actually what we're doing right now in this video. So here we go. That's good. Invite community to follow Linden Park's Facebook page. And so one of the things we learned from the survey was that people knew about the Facebook page, but they just didn't go there. And I think what we'll do is when we look at that question, we'll ask not if you necessarily go to the page, but if you see and look at posts from that Facebook page, just kind of how Facebook works. I think that'll be a question that is more meaningful and worded that way. Put link to Facebook page on school website. So those are all things that we're wanting to do. Implement changes we want to implement based off of the results from that indicator. Okay, questions for 1.7. The success of the whole school as well as individuals within the school is appropriately acknowledged. And so a lot of these questions were, do we acknowledge the success of the whole school? Do we acknowledge the success of teachers and staff? Do we acknowledge the success of students? And so we didn't have a score for this from the 2020 survey data, but changes we implemented in the fall of 2021 were to add those Toby tickets, positive behavior referrals. We just wanted to make sure that we are celebrating the success of students when they are just rocking it here at school. We also didn't want to just make calls home to parents with general, hey, your kid is great. We really like having them here at school. We wanted this to be specific praise where we do think they're great. We do love having them here at school, but here is a specific thing that they are doing currently that we think is just outstanding. And I just think specific praise and information for parents and for students is always more effective. School success posted on the Facebook page, and so we started posting when we were having success as a school, putting posts on there about that on Facebook. So right now we are at a 3.93 out of 5, so close to that 4, but it's still an improve. And so changes that we have already implemented since that survey: teacher team celebration added to as a permanent agenda item on the faculty meeting agenda. So the first item is that, hey, check in, how are we doing? Any input? What do we need to change? And then that second item, we have 2 or 3 celebrations of faculty where we just point out some great things we're seeing from them around the school. And when they're having successes, we celebrate that. We also implemented the High Five a Tiger videos. You might have seen those on Facebook. And we just go around. We have a tiger mascot. Thank you, PTO. It is awesome. And we go around the school and we choose one staff member per week, and it could be a paraprofessional, it could be the custodian, the lunch staff, it could be a teacher, and we try and be specific in those videos about amazing things we're seeing from those staff members to celebrate their specific successes. Next steps. Next steps in the process. I think in this one, I feel like we're making a lot of positive changes currently, and so we're going to just give it time and do a survey with questions from this section specifically in about a month. So we'll just watch and see how those changes go. 1.8, the fiscal, operational, and technological resources of the school are always managed in a way that directly supports teachers. So in 2020, this was a 3.97, almost at that prove. Now we are at a 4.26. And so we have made that necessary growth to be in the prove section. And we just need to submit our evidence to certify in this area. Changes implemented in fall: all teachers were allocated $300 for their classroom supplies they need. New teachers were allocated $500 for classroom supplies they need. And this is something that our secretary works tirelessly to keep track of and make sure that teachers have access to these funds for their own classroom activities and lessons that they're implementing. Master schedule created to optimize instructional time and create less transitions. We adjusted where specials were, and we adjusted where the win time was to try and create solid chunks of time for instruction in math and reading and language arts. We just wanted to protect that time. We also we still hold assemblies, but we've held less assemblies this year. And there are a lot of times where we used to have to do an assembly to share information about upcoming events or programs. And instead of doing assemblies, we've created videos that the teachers are able to share during their morning meetings in the morning, and it doesn't take any of the instruction time. That grit time in the morning, those morning meetings are already scheduled into the day. They do them every day anyways. So on these days where there's videos, it's no longer than 10 minutes, and they're able to show that video. And instead of having the transition time of walking down to the gym, sitting down, getting everybody there while we wait for everybody to get seated, and then having our assembly, and then transitioning everybody back to their classroom, it's a 10-minute thing during their morning meeting time, and it doesn't take away instruction time. We applied for and we were awarded a Learning Found grant to implement after-school programs, as well as and we also got a second grant to pilot the Aperture 8 behavior screener program. And so these were 2 opportunities where we were able to uh, gain additional funds, and in addition to what we are normally given, to implement positive things here at our school. So in this section, we feel like we're hitting the mark, and we are going to submit our lagging indicators.